In mid-September, United Airlines and Emirates announced new partnerships at an event held at Washington Dulles International Airport. This announcement is a significant shift, as tensions between the United States and Gulf carriers had been rather high just 5 years ago. Let's examine how things have changed with the signing of this latest deal and what this could mean for the future of the two airlines. It was only 5 years ago that Scott Kirby, then the president of United Airlines, publicly stated that he expected the United States government to take action against Gulf carriers for creating an unlevel playing field by operating with government funding. At the time, American carriers were upset that 3 major Gulf carriers were flooding the market with low fares. At the Boyd Group's International Aviation Forecast Summit in 2017, Kirby said, "Our political system in the United States is messy and often frustrating, but the great thing about this country is, at the end of the day, we do the right thing. This is so clearly the right thing. I don't know when or exactly how it will happen, but I believe that we will get to a world where we get fair competition." The quote-unquote Big Three United States carriers, American Airlines, United Airlines and Delta Airlines, alleged in the past that Etihad Airways, Qatar Airways and Emirates had received more than $50 billion in government subsidies, having done so since 2004. The Gulf carriers denied the allegations and said that the assistance received from their governments is similar to the aid that American and European carriers receive from their own governments. The accusations from the American carriers do not sit well with Sir Tim Clark, president of Emirates, who called the allegations, quote, "surprising and frankly repugnant." At the time, the CEO of United Airlines, Oscar Munoz, criticized the Gulf carriers, saying, "Those Gulf airlines aren't airlines, they're just branding vehicles for their countries." Of course, Munoz's comments did not sit well with Emirates, who took the opportunity to mock United Airlines just a few weeks after his remarks were made. In April 2017, United dragged a passenger off a flight from Chicago to Louisville for refusing to give up his seat once on board the aircraft. Munoz blamed the passenger for the incident, and as you can see here, Emirates posted a video mocking Munoz and United. The video showboated the numerous Emirates accolades at the time and ended by inserting United's tagline about flying the friendly skies. The video also had a slate that read, "Well, Mr. Munoz, according to TripAdvisor, the world's largest travel site, not only are we a real airline, we are the best airline." With such a strong public shaming, who would have ever thought that these two carriers could repair their relationship? Well, years have passed since the feud between the United States and the Gulf carriers, and tensions have certainly dissipated and olive branches extended in the name of mutually beneficial relationships. In 2020, American Airlines announced a code-share agreement with fellow Oneworld member Qatar Airways. Since then, both airlines have enhanced their partnership. American also launched a flight to Doha in June of this year from its hub at the John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York City. The September 15th announcement by United Airlines and Emirates is very significant, even if it's limited. In fact, the current codeshare deal will only cover Emirates' services to Chicago, Houston and San Francisco. For Emirates flight codes on United services, the agreement only applies to flights from Newark to Dubai, which will launch in March next year. However, the fact that any partnership was announced at all between the two airlines is a major deal, considering the tensions that existed just a few years ago. At the event, Sir Tim Clark said, "Can you imagine this? There was a time, and we all know this, that it was difficult." The new airline partnership will give Emirates customers greater access to the United States via United's 200-plus destinations. United customers will also receive expanded access to Emirates' network in Africa and India. At the event, Scott Kirby noted that United Airlines is now the #1 US airline flying across the Atlantic. In a statement, Kirby said, "I'm now proud to say that after decades of being 3rd, 4th or 5th place across the Atlantic, United Airlines is now the #1 airline flying across the Atlantic. A position, by the way, that will never change, because we've got more growth ahead, and partnerships like this enable that kind of growth for us at United." The United chief also went on to praise Sir Tim Clark and the Emirates brand, saying, It's remarkable what Sir Tim and team have accomplished and what they have built, and so putting two great brands together is really what this is all about." After finishing his remarks, Kirby invited Sir Clark onto the stage to give some remarks. Clark began talking about how both airlines had done a fantastic job of managing operations during the COVID-19 pandemic and the similarities in the DNAs of the two carriers. He went on to say that no one could have imagined what was taking place as he was speaking on a stage with Scott Kirby, flight crews from both United and Emirates, and two Boeing 777 aircraft as the background for the scene. But we kind of look forward, we don't look backwards. We've got the makings of the beginnings, and I call this the acorn that is planted and from which the mighty oak will grow. But it's not going to take 200 years for the oak to get there. We've got to get this done as quickly as possible, and we've got the minds to do it. Emirates and United Airlines are big players in the regions they serve. United serves more than 200 destinations, and Emirates serves another 200 plus, along with its sister carrier Fly Dubai. Highlighting this, Sir Tim Clark said, "So taken together with us, we'll eventually reach over 400 destinations that the two carriers, Emirates and Fly Dubai, can meet with United. And I say this to all of you, this will defy the laws of physics when it comes to moving people across the planet. It has to be one of the most seismic things that is going to happen at this particular time and going forward as well." Clark finished his remarks by once again highlighting the significance of the partnership considering the rocky past, even throwing it a bit of humour. "It's just lovely to see the smiling faces of everybody, because 7 years ago you'd be throwing tomatoes at me, and I'm not that bad actually. But anyway, it's great to see, and from what I can gather, the enthusiasm of everybody in this room, this hangar, and in both companies, we are already ready to rock and roll on this one. Starting small and seeing how things would go seems to be a wise move. Moving forward, there will be ample room for expanding a partnership between these two giants on both sides of the world. Not only do both carriers have growing networks, but the code-share agreement currently applies to just 3 of Emirates' US destinations. Surely this could expand to more cities in the future if all goes well. This partnership would appear to be a wise move, considering the competition on both sides. United is constantly competing with American and Delta, while Emirates is up against Qatar Airways and fellow UAE airline Etihad. At the same time, some in the industry suspect that this partnership is a teaser for an even more significant move. In fact, some believe that Emirates is positioning itself to join the Star Alliance, having also recently announced a code-share partnership with Air Canada. This would indeed be earth-shattering in the world of aviation, considering the massive reach of the Dubai-based airline. This move would also be quite shocking considering the fact that Emirates has remained outside of airline alliances since its inception, instead opting for direct partnerships with airlines. At present, Emirates' website lists partnerships with about a dozen airlines, including Air Mauritius, Bangkok Airways, EasyJet, GOL, Japan Airlines, Malaysia Airlines, and Qantas. Considering Emirates' newly inked code shares with United and Air Canada, you can see that the airline's neutral position has allowed it to partner with airlines from all 3 major alliances: the Star Alliance, SkyTeam, and oneworld. Interestingly, the airline's Skyward partnership with JetBlue is set to end on October 30th, 2022. Having been partners since 2012, the quote-unquote breakup makes complete sense in retrospect, with Emirates forming closer ties with United Airlines. There's a lot that we could try to predict, but ultimately only time will tell what the 2 airlines decide next. What do you think about the new agreement between United and Emirates? Do you believe that Emirates will eventually be joining Star Alliance? Let us know in the comments below. Simple Flying publishes over 150 articles every week. If you're looking for the latest aviation news and insights, visit simpleflying.com.